What's going on? YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really interesting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. One that I think many people will find entertaining for a lot of different reasons. This is the Cold Steel Luzon, is how I'm going to pronounce that. I don't know if I am pronouncing that correctly. As far as I know, there are two versions of this knife. There's the medium, which comes in at only 9 inches. And then there's the large, which is the one you're seeing here, which I'm just going to go ahead and measure it because that's what everybody wants to know. It's barely fitting on frame here, coming in at a whopping 13.5 inches. So there you go. This is a big knife, definitely. This knife was actually donated to the channel by a good friend, Chris Gonzalez. Chris, thank you so much for doing that. It was a long time ago that I actually unboxed this big guy, and I am just now getting around to the review, but I've gathered my thoughts on this big guy, and I'm ready to talk about it, absolutely. So let's go ahead here real quick and get a measurement on the blade. I know you guys saw the overall length. The blade length is coming in at, boy, you know, in some areas you could call it 6 1/4. You could call it about 6 inches if you go to right here on the scale. The actual cutting edge is exactly 6 inches on the dot. That is a big blade. By the way, just to let you guys know, of course, like usual, there will be a link down in the description if you decide you'd like to pick this knife up for yourself, as well as links for some other useful stuff. I've got my WIA bit selector, I've got my magnetic driver, flashlights down there, some EDC stuff, things that you guys like. And then, of course, there's also a whole bunch of really popular EDC models, knives and things like that are categorized out. So whatever your itch is, I've got something down there for everybody, so be sure to check that stuff out. Anyways, let's go ahead and do a size comparison of up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. The Rat 1, a knife that many people would call large, though not, you know, looking at it from this perspective. The Rat 1's coming in at about 8.6 inches overall, so it's nowhere near the same size. How about up against the PM2? And because of the angle here, let's just put everything up there. The Rat, or I'm sorry, not the Rat, the Bug Out, the Benchmade Griptilianer, in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and how about the Para 3? You can see there, no matter where I put these knives, the Luzon is just bigger. It's just a really, really big knife. I thought I got all of my chuckles out when I unboxed this knife, but it turns out I had a little bit more. Let's go ahead and give you guys an example of the action. So you could probably guess, I mean, this is a big blade, and it's fairly thick. You could probably guess that the knife actually does have drop shut action. That's not real. I would say it has less to do with the polishing and the fine finish work, and more to do with the fact that it's just a big, heavy chunk of steel. But it does have really good action. It does fall shut. The flipper tab is very reliable. The detent is set up correctly. Though I will say you can simply kind of whip this thing. I mean, this is one of those things where the knife is very affected by inertia and gravity and things like that. I mean, the bigger the object, you know, on a pivot, it's going to do that. So some people are going to look at that as, wow, and some people are going to look at it as like, it's kind of dangerous. I mean, we're going to cover all that. Let's go ahead and weigh it. This is a big knife, but it's using a material called GRN. I mean, I know FRN stands for fiberglass reinforced nylon. This is some type of reinforced nylon, plastic. It's great, you know, at resisting the elements, but it is not exotic in any way, shape, or form. 9.31 ounces. This is not only a big knife, but a very heavy knife. We'll go ahead and do it again. Yeah, 9.35 ounces. So yeah, this is definitely a big knife. So right off the bat, I'm going to say this. Look, I mean, the knife is so big. The blade length is simply just going to be illegal. This knife is going to be very illegal in a lot of places for a lot of reasons. It's also so big that it's completely beyond anything that I would ever recommend as EDC. It does have some interesting qualities, though. A few things that I was like, what? Really? Like, it really surprised me. And so for that reason, I would urge you to hang around and hear my thoughts for the entirety of this. We'll go ahead and start off here with the profile. What we have is a very, very large and aggressive clip point blade with a little bit of a fuller there. The edges, surprisingly, up top are actually knocked down quite a bit. So it doesn't actually get sharp until out here. It is sharp enough to kind of catch your fingernail on a little bit there, but it's not too bad. It's actually better than a lot of knives that cost a lot more money. You can see there they put Luzon on the blade. That's fine. Over on the other side, they have cold steel, HCR 13 MOV in China. Yes, I always have people who are surprised, when I do cold steel reviews, they're like, cold steel's not made in the United States? Yeah, I think they only have one knife that as far as I know, they have one knife that was made in the United States, not the American Lawman, right? You'd think the American Lawman would be made in the United States. No, it's actually one of the Formax models is made in the USA. Very expensive knife, somewhere $350, $400, something like that. And then they have one that's made in Italy as well. But most knives by Cold Steel are made in China or Taiwan, I believe. Anyways, I think they have two. I think they've got a China plant and they've got a Taiwan plant. Truthfully, though, I mean, the construction of this is good. It's very, I poke a lot of fun at Cold Steel. You guys, if you follow me on Instagram, I make memes all the time about people, who love that Triad-Lock and worship it. And I joke around. I think Cold Steel does make a good product, and considering the different knives they have and the different price ranges, when I compare different knives from different price ranges in their line against different knives and different price ranges from other lines and other competitors, I gotta admit I'm pretty impressed by Cold Steel. They generally do a good job. What I'm not gonna say beef. I'm gonna say my jokes with them are, they make a whole bunch of models that are just totally outside of the realm of practical, and I always have the self-defense nuts jumping on me and saying, you're not considering this. All right, that's fair. This knife is not something that I'm going to recommend to you guys for EDC. Just to let you know. But anyways, back to the knife here. We do have awesome grind lines. The blade looks really nice. Everything is symmetrical. No wonky grind lines or anything like that. The edge is nice and sharp, though I will say it seems like Chris has used this maybe just a little bit. There's a couple of little marks on there here and there. But the blade overall looks really great. Something I really like is the thumb studs are actually doubling as external stops, which I think makes sense just given how much mass there is behind that blade. Like when this flips, you can see it. I have to hold my arm still because it doesn't take any risk, but my wrist naturally wants to move because as the blade comes out, it's like my hand is moving, like trying to stabilize this massive thing. It's pretty cool. And actually it does have a good kick to it. It does feel good. It's kind of like anybody I hand this to is just like, are you serious? It's just crazy. And then they fire it, and it does such a good job that somebody who's not familiar with knives, still can get it to work. I'm sure a lot of people are like, can you do some kind of front flip with it? I mean, kind of. It feels a little dangerous. You certainly can sort of deploy it that way. I don't know if I am actually going to be able to do a real front flip with it. Give it my best shot here. No, can't do it. You can absolutely deploy it with the thumb studs as well. I've never tried this, but I'm going to try a reverse flick on this guy. I don't know that I can do it. It's really hard because there's not a lot of room to get underneath back here. So I don't think I can do that. But you certainly can do a one-handed. I mean, I say one-handed because I was actually trying to hold onto it like this when I was doing the reverse flick. But it only requires one hand to do that flick like that. So that's cool. The blade is going to be fairly thick. It feels kind of trivial to talk about the performance of this blade and like ultra slicey tasks because it seems like that's clearly not. I mean, obviously it's meant to cut, right? But like let's get to zero. If you're wondering like, am I going to be able to effectively like slice tomatoes with it? It's like I don't think so, but I'm not sure that that's really where they were going with it. About 160,000. So yeah, it's about the same thickness as a Hinder XM18, but it does get fairly thin on the edge. This is a blade that I think reading into it a little bit, I think it was designed as some sort of knife fighting, or it came from that idea. I don't think of in my life, my knives are just tools. So I'm coming at this. I mean, regardless of how it was designed, I'm kind of coming at this as a how would it function as a tool in a person's everyday life. So I know there are people who want me to talk about self-defense, but I'm not going to. The tip is definitely going to excel at puncture tasks, and the way that you have the swedge up top, it's definitely going to do that type of stuff just fine. This GRN material, it feels exactly the same as FRN. I'm sure it's pretty tough. I'm sure it's going to resist. It's impervious to things like expansion and contraction, water, things like that. Going to be just fine. Makes sense considering the price point of this guy, which we're going to talk about. You do have a nice, simple T8 pivot. We'll make sure here using my handy dandy T8, my handy dandy WIA bit selector, which once again is down there in the description. If you guys want to check, yeah, that's going to be a T8. And then your body screws, I am certain, are T6, which you guys know bothers me. And it makes no sense on this knife. Look at this. These little teeny tiny little T6. Yeah, these are T6 body screws you can see right there. Excellent, excellent little bit selector. I love that thing. Couples well with the magnetic driver. I know I say that all the time, but it's just awesome. So you've got these two body screws down here, and then you've got these two back here. I mean, they're actually all body screws. You've got a nice lanyard hole. I will say, ergonomically, I mean, there's so much room on the handle. I mean, I'm going to show you, like, inch by inch, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 4 positions, and it's all these little grooves down here that allow me to put my hands wherever I want and feel locked in. Yes, I do 100% feel secure holding this knife. I do not feel like it's going to come out of my hand. I have no idea if it's going to be efficient at batoning. A folding knife is not something I'd use for batoning, no matter how big the liner lock is, no matter how thick the blade is. I know people are going to ask. I don't know. This feels like the type of blade you could do some light chopping with, just given the length and the mass of everything. I don't know if it's really going to be an ideal camp tool. Again, for tasks like that, a fixed blade is probably a better option. I can't imagine a situation where, this knife, the fact that it can fold, what sort of extra convenience that gives you, in any given circumstance, whether, just in EDC or in camp. I mean, this is simply so big that it kind of throws it outside of the realm of reasonable for just about every circumstance that I can think of. But again, that doesn't mean that it's completely out of the ballpark. Not for everybody. I mean, some people are going to use knives for different things, and might understand the circumstances surrounding that a little bit better than me. You have this gigantic GRN pocket clip. I don't like that. I don't like that they made the pocket clip out of the same material as the handle. I'm sure it's plenty durable. I just would prefer a metal pocket clip. It does carry, I mean, I'm wearing jeans, like normal jeans, and I can tell you right now, not skinny jeans, not big, baggy, crazy outdoor work jeans, just regular jeans, regular $40 jeans. It's made to carry all the way up to here, but only this much, like only that much goes into my pocket. That's a regular pocket length, and that's how much is sticking out because this is running into the bottom of my pocket. So those of you who are like, oh, I don't care, I want to carry that thing anyway, the biggest problem you're going to run into is it's just not going to fit in your pocket. It's just too big. Now, if you have pants, you have work pants with super deep pockets, or you're going to carry this thing in a sheath, right? Or you're going to carry it on your back fully deployed like a sword, because this is basically a folding sword, then maybe you'll have less of an issue. Though, this, considering this is a pocket knife, right? It's still, I mean, it's got a pocket clip. It's just not going to work in that setting. So that's that's an issue there. What's this guy back here? So this is the lock. They call this the leaf spring lock, I guess. And it keeps the liner lock from moving over. It does a great job. And I'll tell you guys right now, the knife is absolutely solid. I always feel like blades that are that long, I can get some blade play out of. No, it's completely solid. I mean, in a situation where you do not want that blade to disengage, that is going to do it. I will say, just like playing with this knife and messing around with it, multiple times I've accidentally engaged it when I didn't want to, and then also just using it. If your hand slides a little bit, like right there, I put enough, my hand just sliding around on the handle can actually disengage it. So that's why I don't really like stuff like that, because I don't know if I 100% can trust it. The position of it on the handle, like I get why it's there, and that's great. And like when it is engaged, the lock does its job. You know, you would have to break so many other parts of the knife before that lock were to fail. That's great. But those ridges right there, they're enough to catch your hand. It's sticking up enough to catch your hand, and it's just, there's a good chance that it might disengage. And when you really need to depend on that thing, whatever it is you're doing, you may not be able to fully depend on it. It's so funny coming at this from a practical sense, because it doesn't make any sense to do that. This is the style of my channel, to come at this from the perspective of somebody who's just looking for an EDC cutting tool, right? It obviously doesn't fit that at all. You know, I'll say this. The centering's not on. I don't really expect to have perfect centering on a knife in this price range. You might be able to tweak it a little bit, get it centered, but I am impressed at the overall fit and finish. Everything lines up correctly. All the screws fit. Nothing, you know, stripped out. There's no, it's not overly sharp on the blade. The blade looks good. It's sharp. I mean, the fit and finish is really, really good. I'm really happy with that. Completely impractical size. The lock over here is neat, but it's not 100% trustworthy. I think it's a little bit easy to disengage. The coolest thing about this is that you can get this knife for, you know, somewhere around $35. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less. I was honestly shocked by that. The fact that this much knife, I mean, regardless of the fact that most of it is completely outside of the realm of reasonable for EDC, I was shocked that you can actually get this knife for that amount of money. I can't recommend this. Like, even at that price, I'll tell you this right now. If you're looking for this big of a knife, whether you're serious or you're just kind of like, this is kind of cool, like novelty thing, or maybe you train in self-defense, whatever, you know, or you're looking to get like a gift for somebody, whether it's serious or you're you know, kind of like joking around, like, haha, isn't this funny? That's a really good price point. I mean, I'm good with the materials. I'm good with the steel. I'm good with the fit and finish. Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking for it in that sense, yes. If you're looking for a good EDC knife and you just like bigger knives, or in fact, anybody who's just looking for a practical EDC knife, no, I can't recommend this to you. For everybody else who just wants the crazy stuff, the weird stuff, you know, having some fun, you're wanting to know, is it made well? You know, for what I'm spending on it, is the product made well? Yes, it is. It's very typical cold steel. I've come to learn that cold steel simply makes a good knife. Whether or not they make a practical knife all the time or a sane knife all the time is up for debate. But they do make a quality product, and for that reason, I can say, yeah, sure, you know, go ahead, guys. I don't know that there's really a whole lot more that I can say. This was really fun to review. If you're still here at this mark, I actually am going to be giving this knife away on this channel. So I know a lot of you kind of drop off in the middle of this, but a few of you always hang around to the end. So I'm just going to let you guys know your reward for hanging around to the end is knowing that at some point in the very near future, I will be doing a giveaway for this knife on this channel. I'm excited about that. I feel like somebody would really like to win this. You know, whether for serious reasons or just for fun, but I thought this would be cool. So Chris Gonzalez, thanks again. I really appreciate the donation, man. It's really because of him that this is possible. But that's going to be pretty much it. Like I said, if you're looking for EDC items, you guys know what's down there in the description. Lots of awesome, amazing knives and EDC tools and maintenance gear, so check that stuff out. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.